The desert sun burned low on the horizon, staining the sky with streaks of fire and blood. Two rancher brothers, lean from hard work and poor soil, leaned against the fence of their small spread, their faces marked by years of struggle. Life had never been kind to them. Their cattle were thin, their pockets thinner, but they had each other, and in that bond was their strength. They had grown up under the same merciless sun, fought off raiders, worked the land with blistered hands, and survived storms of dust and hunger. It was 20 years ago, in the heat of their youth, that fate had tested them in a way neither could forget. A raid had swept across the plains, wagons overturned, flames rising into the night. Amid the chaos, they had found her, a little Apache girl, bloodied, terrified, clutching a broken doll carved from wood. She had looked at them with eyes too old for her small face, eyes filled with both fire and sorrow. They could have turned away, left her to whatever end awaited. But something in her gaze bound them. Without a word, the older brother lifted her onto his horse, and the younger rode at his side, shielding her with their rifles as they fled into the darkness. They hid her, fed her scraps from their own meager table, and gave her what safety they could. For months, she was a shadow in their home, learning their ways while still holding fast to her people's songs whispered at night. Then one day she was gone, vanished like a ghost into the desert. They never knew if she had been taken back, if she had chosen to leave, or if fate had carried her elsewhere. But the memory of her lingered like a half-forgotten dream. Years passed. The brothers worked their ranch, never rising, never falling, caught in the endless grind of poverty. They spoke little of the girl, except on rare nights when whiskey loosened their tongues and one would say, "I wonder if she ever made it." The other would nod, silent, staring at the flames, as though the answer might appear in the smoke. She became a story, a ghost, a what-if tucked away in the corners of their hearts. But fate has a long memory, and the desert never forgets. It was 20 years later when the sound of drums echoed across the plains. At first the brothers thought it thunder. Then the ground trembled, the dust rising like a storm. They mounted their horses, squinting against the glare, and what they saw froze the blood in their veins. An army, Apache riders, fierce and unyielding, banners of fire and earth snapping in the wind. At their head, a woman astride a black horse, her long dark hair streaming, her eyes sharp as steel. The younger brother whispered first, his voice caught between awe and dread. "It's her." His words trailed off, swallowed by the pounding of hooves. The older brother didn't answer. His heart recognized what his eyes could hardly believe. The little girl they had once saved was gone. In her place stood a leader, a warrior, a storm-given flesh. She had returned, not as the lost child they remembered, but as the commander of an army that could sweep their world into dust. The riders halted just short of the ranch, the earth shaking under the weight of their presence. The woman dismounted, her boots striking the ground with the confidence of one who knew her power. The brothers stood frozen, unable to speak. She approached, her gaze never faltering, and when she finally stopped before them, silence wrapped around the land like a noose. "You saved me once," she said, her voice steady, low, carrying the echo of desert winds. 20 years ago, two poor brothers gave me life when I had nothing. And now, she turned slightly, motioning to the army behind her, their faces painted, their weapons gleaming. "Now I have returned with everything." The older brother's throat worked, his voice hoarse as the desert itself. "And what do you intend to do with it?" Her eyes softened, just barely, like a flicker of humanity beneath the warrior's mask. "That depends on you." The silence between them stretched long, as if even the desert itself was holding its breath. The younger brother, still lean but hardened by years of toil, tried to steady his nerves. His hand brushed the worn handle of his revolver, not in threat, but in instinct. Against the horizon, the army of riders waited motionless, their horses shifting and snorting, dust swirling at their hooves like restless spirits. He had never seen such discipline in a force of men. She had turned scattered tribes into an army. That alone made her more dangerous than any general the frontier had ever known. "You came back," the younger brother finally said, his voice low. "But not for us." Her gaze pinned him, sharp as the edge of a blade. "I came back because of you. Do not mistake it." The older brother, broader in the shoulders, weathered in face, stepped forward, eyes narrowing as he searched her features. Beneath the war paint, beneath the feathers and the leather armor, he still saw the girl they had sheltered, the one who used to sit by their fire humming soft Apache songs while the coyotes howled outside. But now she carried herself with the bearing of a queen, a war chief cloaked in destiny. "You carry an army behind you," he said. "What do you expect two poor men to do against the weight of it?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile, not of mockery, but of certainty. "I expect you to remember." Those words struck like a hammer. The brothers exchanged a look, the past rushing back in fragments, the night they found her, the fear in her eyes, the choice they had made without question. That memory was their bond, yet it was also the root of the unknown now standing before them. What had she carried all these years? Gratitude, anger, or something far more dangerous? A debt she believed must be paid? She raised her hand, and from the army behind her, riders stepped forward, carrying bundles wrapped in cloth. They laid them at the brothers' feet. The cloth fell away, revealing rifles, ammunition, and supplies finer than anything the ranch had seen. The younger brother blinked, stunned. "What's this?" "Your salvation," she answered. "I know your struggles. Your land has been stolen piece by piece. The cattle drives bypass you, the railroads crush you. You saved me, and I have not forgotten. But now I give you a choice." Her eyes glinted like obsidian under the sun. "Stand with me, with my people, with my army, and you will rise from poverty to power. Refuse, and you will be swept aside, as all who stand in the path of destiny are swept aside." The weight of her words pressed on them like the heat of the sun. The younger brother shifted, excitement flickering in his eyes despite his fear. For 20 years they had clawed for scraps. Here was a chance, not just survival, but a new place in a world that had long forgotten them. But the older brother's jaw tightened. He had lived long enough to know that every gift came with a price, and this price was blood. "You talk of destiny," the older brother said slowly. "But destiny always demands a sacrifice. Whose blood are you asking us to spill?" The woman's gaze did not waver. Her voice was cold, steady, without remorse. "The same men who burned my village, the same ranchers and soldiers who took your land and left you to rot. Their time is ending, and I will see it finished. With you beside me, it will be faster. Without you, it will still be done." The desert wind rose, carrying the scent of dust and sage. The brothers stood in its whisper, torn between the weight of loyalty and the threat of war. One remembered the girl they had saved. The other saw only the storm she had become. And in the space between them, a choice began to take shape, one that would decide not just their lives, but the fate of the land itself.